Hey everyone, welcome. Welcome to Courageous 2018. Thank you. Presented by MySafeWork. I'm your host, Ray Ablak. You can clap for me again, I don't mind that. Stop, but please don't stop. We have an awesome audience of students from Northview Heights. Okay, Northview Heights. Bishop Morocco. Birchmount Park. Yeah. Okay, so thanks. And we also have students joining us from across Canada from over 300 schools on a live stream. This is very exciting. We are live. Thank you very much for being here. We're thrilled to have everyone. We're here to talk today about the courage that it takes to aspire to be safe. So what does it mean to be safe? I think if you're going to play hockey with some friends, you're probably going to put a helmet on or something, right? It's kind of obvious. That's an easy one. But let's say, okay, look, I really haven't seen Black Panther yet, and I really want to. So let's say you go see Black Panther tonight at the theater, and you leave. It's a late night show. You're walking on the street with your friends. You should feel reasonably safe, right? You shouldn't have to be harassed by a stranger. So that's another kind of safety. I guess you could probably avoid ever having to deal with the issue of safety if you never left the house, right? But then again, you would just be binging Netflix and eating like pizza all day, which sounds actually pretty good, but probably not healthy. So there's dangers involved in that too. And what's life without taking a little bit of a risk, right? So being safe, I think, is just about minimizing as much as possible your and your friends' opportunities to ever be physically or emotionally hurt. So I'm just curious, how many people here have ever felt unsafe, ever? Just by show of hands. Whoa, some people over here just always feel safe, invincible. That's crazy, because I've felt unsafe before. How many people, just switching gears a little bit, how many people have ever, what does it feel like? What's the gut response? What's the gut reaction to feeling unsafe? Just, does anybody want to speak on that? What do you think? What's
Punch it in the face.
That's your gut reaction, is to punch feeling unsafe in the face? Wow, that is a brave man. Well, sometimes you might feel angry or feel ashamed or worried or scared when you're feeling unsafe. How many people have like part-time jobs or are applying for summer jobs? Just by show of hands. Yeah, a lot of people. That's good because, with part-time jobs, you can pad your resume a little bit, make a little bit of money. This was pretty good. And it's a good learning experience. But for those of you who have had part-time jobs in the past, have you ever felt unsafe at work? No? I'm seeing someone shake their head. They've never felt unsafe at work. I want to work where you work. Because I've felt unsafe in the work environment before. Guys, I'm an actor. So naturally, I have worked in restaurants a lot. Because when you're not acting on a show, you still have to pay your bills. And on one of the restaurants that I worked at, they would demand that you work these 15-hour shifts where you're not allowed to sit, you can't eat, and it's unreasonable and it's crazy. And so on my second day at this one restaurant, I had to wear dress shoes. Dress shoes have like a very thin leather for men's dress shoes, I'm sure you guys know. And so I'm on my 14th hour, and they ridicule you if you ask for a break, and they make you feel small. Meanwhile, my feet are throbbing, they're swelling up, the backs of my shoes are cutting into my heels. I'm bleeding on the floor, which is not ideal. And yet your boss and your coworkers will try to make you feel, you're soft if you ask to sit down for a second. Are you kidding me? So, the workplace can be painful. Now, if I didn't know at the time that there was something I could do to make my workplace more comfortable, more safe. But if I did know that I had the opportunity to do something like that, I would have jumped at that opportunity. And some of you might be thinking that workplace safety it's just for physical stuff like the construction site. No, you got to put on your hard hat, you got to put on safety glasses, but that's kind of the myth that we're trying to break. For many of you who are about to start part-time jobs at restaurants or offices or summer camps, noticing workplace safety is going to be harder. So that's why we're here. Did you know this unfortunate and crazy statistic? Every 15 seconds, a worker dies from a work-related accident or illness or disease. That is 2.3 million people a year due to something that we could absolutely reduce that if we just take action. So it's not a reality that we have to accept. And today we're going to show you how you can do that. How do you do that? You get your courage up to do more for yourself and to create a safer world. Unsafe work is not just physical. It can be emotional or psychological. And finally, working together is always the answer. Ask questions, connect, and don't be afraid. As the next generation, we all have a say and a real voice to affect change. So with that, let's take this chance to start things off with our first guest, who's going to share a story of someone who was your age when he got his very first job. He started working in a bakery. He had no experience, but he was stoked to have a job and to make some money. His name was Dave Ellis. And on his second day of work, his employer left him in a dangerous situation, and Dave became the victim of an unsafe workplace. Here to share Dave's story is Rob Ellis, the founder of MySafeWork and Dave's father. Please welcome Rob Ellis.
Thanks, Ray. Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Wow, to be able to come on stage with Ray, that's a pretty incredible experience. I look out today and I see, well, I see my family. I see my family here today who really want to try to change the world, be a better place for all of us. I look into the crowd today and I see where my son Dave would have been sitting beside you as probably one of your friends. Let me describe to you what my son Dave was like. He loves sports. He loves basketball. He loved baseball. He loved hockey. He loved soccer. He loved all sports. He loved music. He was a drummer in his band, and he loved playing his drums very, very loud. And well, it was just part of him. He just loved music. But you know, I have to tell you that Dave he had a purpose in his life. He was one of those young guys who really wanted to help those people who were less fortunate than he was. And he was often out handing out blankets and feeding young kids and so on streets. And that was my son Dave. He really just had a purpose and was driven by this, and he really just wanted to change his life. And I really admired my son. You're looking at a dad today that loved his son. My son, Dave, I really miss. So I want you just to walk with me for just a minute or so, and I just want you to come with me on this journey, and I want you to see where you might grow and be part of an amazing team that's going to change the world. Because I can tell you that when I lost my son, my 18-year-old son, it changed the journey and the direction and the path of my life. See, Dave was exactly like you. He just wanted to help out, and he said to my wife and I'm thinking I'm going to take a part-time job on and maybe help pay for college and university. And I said, well, that's fantastic, Dave. Way to go. And so he went out to take a job on, and it was minimum wage, and he came home at night, and I said, Dave, how'd the job go? And he said, Dad, it's just a job. And I didn't ask him any more questions other than that. He went to work the second day on the job and was left alone on a large floor of a bakery, and his job was to clean out a large industrial mixer this big. What my son didn't realize was that he should have got orientation and he should have got training. He should have had supervision that day, but he did not. What he also didn't realize was that the company had a visitor from the Ministry of Labor inspector that 18 months before, and the inspector found out that there was no safety equipment on this big mixer. They told the company to get it fixed, and unfortunately the company did not get it fixed. and did not tell my 18-year-old son, Dave, that it needed to be fixed. And my son went to work on a big industrial mixer with no guards and no lockouts on. And a power surge came through in the mixer and pulled my son into the blades of the mixer. And I can tell you, I wish I had been there and not him. He had no chance whatsoever. He was pulled into the sharp blades of that mixer. And it caused his body a huge devastation. The government came back the next day and found the company to be guilty of 47 counts, and my son's supervisor went to jail. Just a total lack of respect for a young 18-year-old boy. If they had given him the right orientation, given the right training, given the right, proper supervision, give him just the basic fundamental tools that we should give all employees, whether they're young or old. Have respect. Have respect. My son did not receive that respect and lost his life. My son had a great attitude. Yeah, he absolutely. Young people in Canada have a great attitude. They go to work, they're going to be the best employees the employer's ever seen. But we need to get behind them. We need to properly equip them. Give them the right training. Give them the right orientation. Give them the right training. Give them the right supervision. We need to do that for them. And they will be the best employees, the most productive employees ever. My son lost his life. They took him to the hospital by helicopter here in Toronto at Sunnybrook Hospital. And 6 days later, the head surgeon came up to our family and said, "We're really very sorry. Your son, David, is not going to live. We're going to have to take him off the life support machine." And we wept. I still, to this day, do not know how we made it home that night. And as my family here today, I do not want you to go down the journey, the path that we have as a family. I miss Dave desperately. I miss Dave every minute of the day. I miss Dave throwing a basketball around. I miss Dave throwing a baseball. I miss Dave shooting a puck. I miss Dave laughing. I miss Dave watching him on the drums. I miss Dave. You're looking at a dad who loved his son. My son is gone. The high school that my son went to called our house and said, could you come over and speak to the whole school? They miss Dave. And I said, I've never spoken to a high school student before. I'd be a bit nervous. And they said, oh, come on over anyway. And I went over and I spoke to the whole high school, and I could not believe the questions that the students asked. Incredible questions such as, is orientation and training compulsory? Do all companies need to give us orientation? Do all companies need to give us training? When should I start asking questions? Right when I give my resume off to an HR director, or should I start a couple days in? How come young people are not treated with respect? How come some companies are better than other companies? If I get abused on the job, who do I ask? If I get verbally or physically abused, who do I ask? Who do I report that to? How come 125,000 young people in Canada get injured and nobody knows about it? Nobody talks about it. I was amazed at the thirst of knowledge, the thirst for knowledge from young people. I was literally chased in my car by young people asking questions about workplace safety, about workplace leadership, about workplace communication, about coaching, about issues that I thought was not important to young people, but it is. And they quickly let me know, because there's a thirst for knowledge to want to get better in our world. And young people have a purpose in life. They want to get the place that they live in, the community, the school, the family, the home. They all want to improve. So today is a really special day. It's an incredible day how young people today are joining with senior executives from all across the country. And today we're going to change the world. We're absolutely going to change it, because nations are watching this live stream right now. Right now. And today everybody wants to improve. So I know David would have said this: hands up for courage. Be courageous. Be strong. Be courageous in your workplace. Be courageous at home. Be courageous in your community. Together, we can make a difference. All of us together are champions. So when you go back and you have your jersey of courage, I want each and every family name to be on the jersey of courage. And together, we will change the world. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it very much.
Keep the round of applause going for Rob, please. Great man. Sometimes stuff like this can happen and we're at a loss for how, we can make an impact. And while MySafeWork was created out of a pretty tragic story, Rob and his family have turned their pain into a courageous moment where they're able to speak out and raise awareness. And we can all make a similar impact, right? There's another fact. Did you know that most accidents for young people occur in the first 30 days of their employment? I mean, that makes sense. It's because you probably haven't been properly trained and don't feel like you can ask questions in that time. You think you have to figure it out by yourself. Well, you're not alone. And together, we can get our courage up. And that means that there's 3 simple steps. We got to keep our heads up, speak up, and link up. So first off, we're going to keep our heads up. If I say heads up, what do? You probably pay attention or something. All right, so heads up. I'm just going to throw this at you. Okay, you caught it, because I said heads up, and you're prepared and you're paying attention. But now if I don't say heads up, what happens? You might get hit in the head with the ball. Unless you have like lightning fast reflexes, but even then, probably going to get hit in the head with the ball. Now as much as our heads are up, it's about looking out for each other. It's about looking out for ourselves. And we can be negligent. I know a number of times I have walked into people or poles or walls. Even when I don't have my head buried in my phone, I'm just walking into stuff. And I'm sure that's the case for all of us. I mean, so many times. If you left your house right now and just spent the whole day just buried in your phone, you'd be lucky not to just end up in the hospital and Snapchat from the hospital with just a couple bumps and bruises, right? It's a dangerous city. So to keep your head up, you got to be alert, you got to be aware, and you got to pay attention. That means there's a time and a place for checking Instagram. Cool. I'm not saying you can't check Instagram and social media platforms at work. In fact, you can even do that right here. You can hashtag Courageous2018. At work, make sure that you're taking notice of your peers and the people around you to make sure that you're not putting your coworkers at risk with your quick mental break, right? Now, if we take that into the workplace, everyone has the right to know about the potential dangers in any workplace that they're in, and it's the law. Your boss must make sure that you're fully aware of all potential dangerous aspects of your job. So now that you've got a good head on your shoulders, let's speak up. Ooh, this one's gonna be fun. Take a look at the screen. Does anybody know what that is? Wait. Put your hand up. Do you know what it is? I'm seeing one hand. Okay. What do you think that is?
Is it a Large Hadron Collider?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, all right. Round of applause. That's a Hadron Collider. Do you know how to use that? No. Okay. Cool. Yeah, me neither. I'm pretty sure the people that do operate the Hadron Collider didn't know how to operate it at first. They had to ask a lot of questions. They had to speak up. And even when they did that, probably they still don't know entirely what they're doing, because it seems like real difficult material. For anyone else, we want to break the taboo of what speaking up is. It's not something to be afraid of. And if you don't understand something or feel like something is safe or right in your workplace, don't be afraid to ask questions. It's not embarrassing. When we speak up, we learn. Good companies also respect employees who are able to speak up and ask questions. Your questions help their company to be better. See how the microphone works? You gotta put it right near your face. So be courageous and speak up. Last up, but definitely not least, is to link up. Link up is simple. If you're confused or nervous about something in your workplace, and you feel like you can't speak up or appeal to your boss, you just talk to other coworkers. We want to make something clear. The minute you're given instructions and taught how to do something, safety is being accounted for. But if you haven't been properly trained, or you're thrown into a situation, chances are someone else might be just as confused as you are. So when you link up, you connect, you build a team, and you learn together. Think of football players when they're linking arms in solidarity, or a choir. The more voices, the stronger their message is going to be. So if you find yourself in a bad situation at work, or you need someone to talk through a problem, just link up. It's all good. Don't worry about that one. Just link up with your coworkers and address the situation. So to repeat, what are our tools that we just talked about? You can shout them out. Yeah? Heads up, speak up, link up. Blam. Now that we've got the tools, those were the tools that we just recited. Now that we've got the tools, let's get to the bottom of some real-life scenarios. Our next segment is presented by our awesome partners at WSIB, and we're going to get our next guest, Matt Leto, an expert in creating safe work environments, to help us out. Please give a warm welcome to Matt Leto.
Very much.
All right.
Heading over here.
Okay.
I'm on this stage.
Yow!
Well, thanks a lot, Ray. Appreciate that. How we doing, everyone? Doing okay? All right. Well, my name's Matt, and I'm a certified thermographer. And what that pretty much means is that using infrared technology, I assess the safety of electrical systems. Now, this can be very dangerous. It involves taking electrical equipment and having it opened, and then I stand in front of energized electrical components. It can be very risky, which is why in my line of work, I need to make sure that I'm being alert, I'm being aware, but also that I'm following my proper training and procedures to keep me safe. But there's always opportunity to refute or to be in danger. And I need to constantly be refusing to take dangerous steps. So what does that look like? How do we refuse unsafe work? Let's start with a question that we received from a new graduate from Vancouver. They asked this: I just got a new job at a catering company, and I've only been there for a few weeks, but already I've been put in a few uncomfortable situations, including working with equipment I've never been trained to use. I've already had a few minor injuries, but I'm afraid that if I ask for help, that my boss will get upset. What should I do? Now, this is a very common question, especially for young people who are starting out in the workforce. So, to help us out, let's take a look at a video and see what the answer might be.
You have the right to refuse unsafe work. That's right, you. If you're not trained to perform a task, if the proper equipment isn't available, or you think you or someone else is going to get hurt, stop and say, no. Just like you have the right to say no if someone asked you to leave the house in your bathing suit and flip-flops in the middle of winter to make a snowman. You probably say, not interested, right? Or if I asked you to go on a tightrope with ravenous sharks swimming underneath, you'd probably say, that sounds like a really bad idea, considering I have never walked a tightrope and there's no safety net preventing me from being eaten by the sharks. Any reasonable person would say, fair enough, that doesn't sound particularly safe, and I don't want you to get hurt. But how do you know if it's unsafe when you're at work? What if you're nervous because it's something new? Well, it's unsafe if you're not properly trained. If you're asked to clean a deep fryer with boiling oil, you probably need to know what you're doing. That requires orientation and training. It's unsafe if you don't have the right equipment. If you're working with machinery and need safety goggles but they're broken, you're not going to be safe. Or if you're trying to grab something off the top shelf and your ladder is wobbly, that's just plain unsafe. And finally, it's unsafe if someone will likely get hurt and it's completely preventable, but you're asked to do it anyway. That person asking you might be your boss, who you're afraid might get angry with you if you say no, who will maybe even fire you. Believe it or not, you still have the right to refuse unsafe work. No one is angry when you're healthy and happy and walking down the street with a skip in your step, so the people who really care about you, they'll respect you for refusing unsafe work. Refusing unsafe work is in your rights. It protects you, your friends, and your job. Be safe by refusing to be unsafe.
Okay, so I guess the obvious thing is that it's totally fine to refuse unsafe work.
Yep.
And the big thing is it's against the law for your boss to fire you for refusing unsafe work.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, I mean, think about it. You wouldn't drive a car without brakes, would you? No, at least I hope not, because that would be incredibly unsafe. And we all understand, you know, no car, no brakes, don't drive it. But for some reason at work, we don't always think of that. The same applies to your workplace. If work is unsafe, or if you haven't had the training, you just shouldn't do it. The reality is you could end up in a situation where you may never be able to work again. So when you're at work or you're being given a job to do, you need to ask yourself the question, is it safe? Do I know what I'm doing? Was I trained? And if the answer to any of those questions is no, then you need to ask yourself, is my health and safety worth more than a paycheck? To which the answer is always yes. You are worth more than a paycheck. You are worth more than money. Now, to be clear, there may be situations that you find yourself in where your boss gives you explicit direction and training to do a job that may be, you know, risky. And I mean, that's what happens with my job all the time. So it doesn't necessarily mean that just because something is risky that it's always an unsafe working situation. If your boss has done their due diligence and trained you, then it may just be the kind of situation where you need to rise to the challenge, which is why when you work, you need to work heads up, to be prepared and be aware.
Yeah, those are great points, Matt. Interesting points. Now, if someone wants to refuse work, but they're unsure about how to go about doing that, what steps do they follow?
Yeah, great question. And it can be scary, but there's 3 steps that you really want to follow. The first step is have a conversation with your boss or supervisor. Try to resolve the problem. And start simple, but be direct. Tell them, this is unsafe, or I need help. Or, you know what, even if you just straight up need to say no, like, I can't do it. At the end of the day, as bad as getting in trouble or feeling like you might be in trouble is, being hurt is a lot worse, right? So the second thing is, you need to speak up and you need to link up, right? So let's just say you have a conversation with your boss and they're like, I don't want to hear it, I don't really care. They're not really addressing the situation. They're not resolving anything. Well, then you need to speak up and link up. So if you work at a company where you're represented by a union, then the best thing for you to do is find your union representative and talk to them about the problem that you're experiencing. Speak up and link up. This is one of the best places that you can start. In fact, worker safety is one of the key reasons why unions exist in the first place. But let's say you work at a company where you're not represented by a union, but you have 20 employees or more. Did you know that that company is required by law to have a joint health and safety committee at that job? Now, this committee exists to watch and be caring for the safety of that company, which means that you can talk to one of those members, a member of the Joint Health and Safety Committee at your job, and speak up, talk to them about the problem. But let's say maybe you're working at a startup or a small business with less than 20 employees, right? Well, then you just need to talk to someone. And I get that it can be scary, but talk to your boss or talk to a coworker that you trust. At the end of the day, it's better that you don't just keep a problem to yourself. You never want to do work that you don't feel equipped to do. That's unsafe. So you want to be able to speak up and not just keep it to yourself.
Nice. Yeah, that's...
And I have a third point. That's only two. I'm getting ahead of myself here. The third point is this. If you have talked to your union representative, or you've talked to your joint health and safety committee, or you've talked to your employer, and there doesn't seem to be any progress being made, the situation still isn't fixed, hasn't been resolved, don't feel like you've reached the end of your rope and there's nowhere to go. When worse comes to worse, when all else fails, you can go to mysafework.com/help, or you can send an email to help@mysafework.com, and you can get the next steps towards fixing the problem at your workplace.
That is helpful. I might even use that in my real life. Ooh. So, but if we get real for a second, while, yeah, you have all the rights to refuse unsafe work, there's so many times when it does still seem dangerous and you could still get fired. What do you do then?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that is true. The reality is that there are some employers out there that, your health and safety is just not their priority. So when you refuse work, there is the potential that even though it's against the law, you could be fired. Or even worse, you could be forced to do something that's extremely dangerous. And the challenge is that working with these kind of employers can be incredibly difficult. It's not easy, which is why it takes courage for you to say no and refuse to do unsafe work. It does take courage. But the truth is that if not for you, for other people, if you have been harassed or threatened for refusing unsafe work, or you get fired because you refuse unsafe work, you need to take action. You need to speak up. If not for yourself, for your coworkers that are still working in the unsafe conditions that you left. If you speak up and use your voice, you can actually help keep people safe in the workplace and prevent dangerous things from happening to them.
Yeah, that is courageous. Thanks so much, Matt. Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Let's give Matt another round of applause. And thanks again to WSIB for bringing this segment to life. We often think of unsafe work as being just physical, but we forget that unsafe work can come in psychological or emotional abuse. And a recent study, this is unfortunate, found that 1 in 3 women will experience sexual harassment in the workplace. And we want to stop harassment from taking place at all. So to help us lead us through this next segment, please welcome Jessica DeSabatino.
Hey guys. Hi, Ray. So here's the thing. Often, maybe some of you were told today that you got to come to a safety presentation. And you were really glad about that because it's Friday afternoon, you got a few hours off. But really, if you're really honest about it, you thought to yourself, safety, like I'm not planning on wearing a hard hat for my life. Did any of you think that? Like, I'm mostly gonna be working with paper. So I only have to be worried about paper cuts here. And if you had asked me a bunch of years ago what I thought about safety, I was probably like lots of you. I thought about Elmer the safety elephant, and I thought about, I don't know, like I'm not really good at nailing things, so I'm probably not gonna have to worry about it. But the thing is, workplace safety is more than just about physical injuries. It's about psychological injuries as well. And like Ray said, this has come up a lot this year in the news. People have started saying, hey, you know what? I've been psychologically abused. I've been sexually assaulted at work, and no more. I'm not putting up with that anymore. And I think that's a really good thing. I think it's a good thing that we're tying that to safety, because here's the thing. You have the right to be safe in every single way when you go to work. It's not just about, is the ladder going to be safe, although we hope the ladder's safe. But it's about you as a person. You have the right to be safe psychologically. And a few weeks ago, we got a question from students. Listen, we talk to thousands and thousands of students every single year. And we get all kinds of questions, hard ones. And a couple of weeks ago, we had a girl ask us this question. I have a coworker who's my senior and one of the best members on the team, but from time to time, he sends me uncomfortable messages or makes suggestive remarks when we're alone. I know that my boss loves him, and I'm afraid of being embarrassed if I call him out. Is this harassment? Or is this just part of the job? This is what this girl stood up and asked us. Is this harassment, or do I just have to put up with this? You know, I think it's a really good question. I think it begs us to ask the question, what really is harassment? Hey, is there anybody out here who could tell me what really is harassment? Anybody? It's not like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Who wants to tell me what's some examples of harassment? So if I punch you in the face while we come to work, harassment? Yes. Or assault? Yes, harassment or assault. If I make suggestive comments to you, because you're beautiful, is that harassment? Okay, so this is where it gets a little shady, isn't it? This is where, like, what's the line? What are we really talking about here? I want to say this, that anything that would make you feel uncomfortable at work is not acceptable. And this is what we're saying to people. We're going to have to get our courage up. We're going to have to be able to square our shoulders back and say, no, I deserve to be safe at work. But we're going to watch a little video for a second. I'm going to warn you, this video is going to make you feel uncomfortable. It's in fact going to be the most uncomfortable 2 minutes of this entire presentation. So we're going to watch it, and then we're going to talk about it.
No, I mean, it's part of the job. It happens, you know.
Yeah. Because you know guys, they'll be getting drunk, and they think they can have whatever they want. You know, the whole grab 'em by the thing,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
it's like out of nowhere, they're like, boom, right there. You know what I mean, though?
Yeah, no, I get it. You like, fully, like, grab.
I was totally showing you
it's
how.
fine.
Well, here, look. Let's just make things even. Go ahead, grab my. Grab it. Grab it. I do
No,
squats.
don't be stupid.
It's gonna
It's
be
fine.
fine.
It's totally fine.
All right. Suit yourself.
I don't care.
Okay, cool. Are you sure you don't care?
Yes, seriously.
Because for a second there, you turned around like you were gonna give me, literally, some feminist rant. Bullshit. And I'm the biggest feminist there is that I know.
Oh,
'cause,
I'm sure.
yeah, I love women. Sam, are you sure we're cool?
Yeah, no, we're fine.
Are you sure?
Yes,
Okay, good. 'Cause
totally.
You really seem cool. You seem super cool. And if anybody does grab they come up in here, just tell them. Seriously, most guys will listen. Just say, dude, hands off. If that guy won't listen, come and get me, and I'll make sure that stuff gets out of here.
Okay, I will.
Yo, what's up, Mo? That's our DJ, Mo. So, last thing, totally last thing,
Yeah.
is that the music, when Momo kicks it into high gear, is gonna get a little bit loud in here. So, your customers are gonna have a hard time hearing you, so you may want to.
What?
And I've seen worse. Seriously. Crazy. I'm gonna go change the kegs out, okay?
Okay.
So this video is not really comfortable. The unfortunate part is this video mirrors a lot of things that people are going to have to face in real life. And the question is, what do we do about it? I mean, the girl that was portraying the character on there, I've watched this video a bunch of times now, and I keep thinking, how come she just didn't say, I'm out of here? And then I thought about my own self. I thought about how many times I've been in weird situations like that, and I didn't say anything because I didn't want to bug anybody, and I didn't want to be seen like that girl or that person, you know what I'm saying? And you know, part of our hope today is that we would actually speak to situations like this, that we would give you permission to have courage in a situation like this. 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago now, my brother was killed in a workplace accident. Rob is my dad. And I never, ever thought, never in a million years did I ever think about workplace safety before, because that was somebody else's issue. And maybe you're watching today, or maybe you're sitting here today thinking, oh, I got a free afternoon off school. But this is not my issue, lady. Like, this might be your sad issue, but it's not mine. It's never going to be mine. The stat tells us that 1 in 3 women will be in a situation similar to this girl right here. We have to make the decision before it happens about what we're going to do. And that doesn't just, because in the moment, it's difficult to have that kind of courage to say, no, I'm not gonna work here. I'm not gonna put up with that. So I want us, just for a minute, to have a little bit of discussion about what we can do. It's not good enough. It's not good enough to just say, okay, well, that's happening out there, and it's really terrible. Hopefully, I'll never get a job in a place like that. We actually have to be ready. The first thing we said is what? Who remembers the first thing? You can look over there if you want. Heads up. Okay, so this means that if you get a job in a place like that, you got your head up. You're looking for some of the pitfalls that could happen. And that doesn't mean you have to be angry. It just means that you're aware. The second thing is speak up. This is the part that takes lots of courage. You saw in the video that we just watched when the guy was inappropriate, the girl just didn't know what to say, and part of it is we got to be prepared. When people do things to us that are not right, that we have the courage to say, no, not here, not anywhere. This is not happening. And part of it is, at least for me, this has been helpful. I sort of think about it like I'm not just doing this for me. I'm doing it for the other 20 people that work here. And so we're calling you to be leaders. We're calling you to say, I'm not just living my life for me, but I'm living it for the people that will get a job at this place after me or who have a job now and maybe don't have the courage and the strength to say something. I want to call everybody in this room to strength. You know, I tell this story everywhere I go that my brother's friend worked at the place he worked. And he knew that there were problems at the place he worked, but he never said anything to anybody. And he talked to me about it years later and said, I wish I would have said something. I wish I would have had the courage to say, this workplace is not straight, it's not right, but I didn't. And I will never have that chance. We don't want that to be on any of your shoulders. We want you to be able to say, speak up and say, I might not be doing this just for myself, I'm doing it for everybody else. And the last one, the last tool we have there is what? Link up. And that just means that you work together. Maybe you're not like an out front kind of person. You don't want to talk like that. So find some friends, because you can be rest assured of this, that if you're feeling uncomfortable, there's other people feeling uncomfortable too, and there's power in numbers. And we want every Canadian, every North American, every person who works in the world to feel like they are empowered to not just go to work and sort of try to survive, but to thrive while you work, and this is part of it.
Thank you so much, Jess. I can just feel the passion oozing off of you. Thank you for sharing all of that. Everyone, please, a big round of applause for Jessica DeSabatino. All right, we are on to our last segment, and it's brought to you by Electric Utilities, and we're going to get some help from our last awesome speaker, Rachel Guest. Please put your hands together.
Thanks, Ray.
Yeah, no problem. So, all right, we've got one question that was sent to us from a high school student in Toronto. They asked, I sometimes feel alone in my job. Our supervisor puts us in dangerous situations all the time. And just last week, I saw my boss barely training a coworker to do something difficult and potentially harmful. I don't want anyone to get hurt, but I don't want to lose my job. What can I do?
Well, that's a great question. So I work for a fast-paced tech company. It's called Mad Libs. It's an app you can make voiceover parodies. Go ahead, download. It's free. So the company, the tech industry is always changing. It's very high stress, so I definitely know what it's like to speak out for myself and for others. Refusing unsafe work or calling it harassment, obviously, it can be really scary. And if you're alone or if you feel alone, it can be way more difficult to feel comfortable to actually speak out. And so sometimes, the best thing to do is to get someone to help you to speak out. So it's not just about protecting yourself, it's about protecting the people you work with. When you work somewhere for a while, you get to be really tight with your coworkers. You want to protect them, also your friends and your family. So let's give an example. We want to try out another exercise, and we know it can be scary, but we want one of you to stand up to unsafe work alone.
Let's see. How you doing, man? What's your name? Yeah.
Mente.
And what's your school? Birchmount. I'm Ray. Nice to meet you. You willing to do this with me? Okay, great. You're going to do it with me. Can I get you to say courage up? Why don't you stand up for everybody? Oh, man. Oh, man. Say courage up for everybody, right into the mic.
Courage up.
Okay. It's a little bit scary, a little bit. Yeah, and a round of applause.
Okay.
A little bit uncomfortable though, right? Not the best in the world. Okay, how about we just get everybody on this side of the room to say courage up on the count of 3, all right? 1, 2, 3.
Courage up.
Okay, all right. You're a little bit less alone. Still alone though. Okay, but is it less uncomfortable if we get everybody in the entire room to say courage up on the count of 1, 2, 3? 1, 2, 3.
Courage up.
Do you feel a little bit better about yourself? You're not feeling so lonesome? All right.
All right, well, thank you, Ray, and
Yeah,
thank
no
you
problem.
for participating, everybody, especially you. So it might sound obvious, but when you have more people with you, your message gets louder. The more voices, the louder it's heard. So support and solidarity really do enact change. We want to stress that. So taking action is easier when you're linking up with your coworkers. There is strength in numbers, and to answer your initial question, we have more power than we think. Especially if you're one of a fewer coworkers like me. I only work with 5 other people, so it's really important to really link up with your coworkers and make a commitment to call everyone out. If something's going wrong, link up together and make a commitment to have each other's backs. And, of course, we have our steps to how we can do that. There's lots of ways you can confront a difficult situation. You can confront it head-on as a group. You might feel less nervous if there's more people with you, strength in numbers. Another way, number 2, is to keep a record of everything that goes down. So this is really important if you're in a really like a really sticky situation. If you're going to want all the support you can from your coworkers, copies of emails, everything that happens, everything that was said and done, and that's only if you're in like a difficult situation. And finally, when you're with your team, sometimes it's easy just to say, cut it out, or can you not if someone's making an offensive joke or harassing a coworker or being creepy to a coworker. That's a good one. So to sum it up, if you see someone in a bad situation, offer them the support that you would want. It's really that simple. Talk to them and figure it out together.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
Yeah, no problem.
Let's end with a final video, thank you, from a teacher and slam poet, Clint Smith, on the dangers of staying silent.
We spend so much time listening to the things people are saying that we rarely pay attention to the things they don't. Silence is the residue of fear. It is feeling your flaws gut-wrench guillotine your tongue. It is the air retreating from your chest because it doesn't feel safe in your lungs. Silence is Rwandan genocide. Silence is Katrina. It is what you hear when there aren't enough body bags left. It is the sound after the noose is already tied. It is charring. It is chains. It is privilege. It is pain. There is no time to pick your battles when your battles have already picked you. I will not let silence wrap itself around my indecision. I will tell Christian that he is a lion, a sanctuary of bravery and brilliance. I will ask that homeless man what his name is and how his day was, because sometimes all people want to be is human. I will tell that woman that my students can talk about transcendentalism like their last name was Thoreau, and just because you watch one episode of The Wire doesn't mean you know anything about my kids. So this year, instead of giving something up, I will live every day as if there were a microphone tucked under my tongue, a stage on the underside of my inhibition. Because who has to have a soapbox when all you've ever needed is your voice? Thank you.
Those are really inspiring words. Thanks again to Electro Utilities for supporting our mission to speak out for others. We want to thank you all very much for being a part of Courageous 2018. Our hope is that these tools, what were those tools again? Shout them out. Our hope is with those tools, you'll be on your way to getting the courage to oppose unsafe work. And before we leave here today, we want to hear from Tom Nichols of the Power Workers Union to leave us with some words of encouragement. Tom Nichols. Here he is.
Thanks, Ray. Wow, that's pretty inspiring stuff spoken right there. Hard to top. How many people in the room would take a job if you were told that 2 out of 12 of you would die? Few. I was one of those individuals. I got hired onto a job, seems like decades ago now. I feel as old as a dinosaur. And I was told, 2 out of 12 of us, there was 12 of us hired on at the same time, I was told that 2 out of 12 would die on the job. And I looked around the room and I said, geez, I hope it's not me. And that was an acceptable risk at that time. It was dealing with high voltage. It was doing power line maintenance. And I accepted the job. I got involved in health and safety because I wanted to change that statistic. That's a difficult word. Get one of your teachers to spell that one. But anyway, I want to share my message about safety. Yesterday, I attended a ceremony with one of the companies that we represent. I work for the Power Workers Union. My job is health and safety. Protect the workers. That's my job. Last December 14th, those of you that watch the news or listen to radio, you heard about the deaths of 4 workers that were involved in a helicopter crash. I knew those individuals. I knew the pilot of that aircraft. I worked with him. I worked with him to make another part of that job safe. And then the next thing, he was killed on the job. So we had a memorial yesterday, and I wear this pin. You can see that, the ribbon, to support those members. My friends, co-workers that died on the job. Unfortunate. And yesterday we attended a ceremony down by Belleville, Ontario, where the crash happened. And the family members were down there. 3 of those individuals were under 30 years of age. The pilot was just over 30 years of age, had a wife and 2 kids at home. The devastation that created those families and the loved ones. I shared in their pain yesterday, again, for the second time. And hopefully none of you will have to share somebody else's pain, or a friend's, or a family member. So keep that in mind. Keep the messages in mind that you heard today. Speak up. It's important to have a voice. It's important to use your voice. Keep your heads up. If something doesn't look right or doesn't feel right, it's not right. And keep your courage up, because that's what we need. We need everybody rallying around the fact that it's okay to say no. It's okay to not do something that's unsafe. Not to be ridiculed or threatened with your job loss. But I want to thank Rob for the opportunity to let me come and talk to you today. And we appreciate it. Thank you.
Tom, thanks a lot. Appreciate it, man. Okay, we learned a lot today, right? And to reiterate some of the really great things that our speakers spoke about, I'm going to bring them up on stage. Welcome Rob, Matt, Jess, and Rachel.
All right. Okay, Ray. Ray, what I want to do is just give a quick summary. 3 easy steps to success here today. So the first one is heads up. Be aware of everything on the work site. Second one is speak up. Report everything. Just absolutely report everything. And the third one is link up. So 1, 2, 3, really easy. That just brings us right to courage up. Be courageous. Be courageous, everyone. Do it for Dave, my son. Do it for yourselves. Do it for your families. Do it for this world we live in. You can do it. You're all champions. Every single one of you are champions. Matt?
Yeah, something to leave you guys with. Remember, you have the right to refuse unsafe work. You have the right to refuse unsafe work. If a job seems unsafe, don't do it, all right? And if it hasn't already been provided, ask for OT, or orientation and training. It's just that simple. Oh, right, you get
And I think the thing that we have to remember is that harassment is a form of unsafe work. Your life and your person is worth more than being harassed at work. So if you're being harassed at work, just say no.
And whether it's for your coworkers or your friends, speaking out in solidarity and acting as a community can really create change in stopping unsafe work.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Please, a round of applause for all of your speakers today. And a round of applause for yourself for being so attentive. Thank you, everyone. We'd like to thank our sponsors for helping this event come to life, the Power Workers Union, Electro Utilities, WSIB, Hydro One, Oakville Hydro, K-Line Group of Companies, and the Carpenters Union, Local 27. We'd also love to thank our volunteers from George Brown. And for more information, head over to mysafework.com/help and get the help you need to stay safe. You're not alone in this. And thanks for watching and have a great afternoon. Take care, everyone. Okay.